Well, hello, my name is Jim Royal. I am a huge Beatles and Elvis Presley fan, so if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. And then at the end of the video, do a thumbs up. That's always most appreciated. Today, I wanted to talk about Abbey Road. Coming here, September 26th is going to mark its 50th anniversary, 2019. And we all know that there is going to be a 50th anniversary edition of it. So the question is what's going to be on it? Well, I've been a Beatle fan since I've been 10 years old, and I've done a lot of research on this. Love the Beatles, they're my favorite group, period. So I'm going to give you my take of what I think is on it. Now, I've also done videos for the White Album, what I thought was going to be on there before it happened, and Sgt. Pepper, and I thought I did a pretty good job. So if anything, hopefully this will be entertaining for you to give you an idea of some of the stuff that's out there that should be on it. Alright, so let's start out. There is going to be a single edition. There's going to be a one record CD or vinyl. It's going to be remixed by George Martin, famous Beatle producer, his son Giles Martin. And he's also done Sgt. Pepper and the White Album, so looking forward to that, kind of hearing a new life. And when I say remix, what I'm talking about is basically going back to the original masters and maybe mixing things a little differently than how the Beatles had and George Martin. So you might hear things in the mix differently than what you had. Something might be brought up in it, something might be brought down. So there's nothing wrong with that. I'm kind of curious to see, how that's going to turn out. So I'm looking forward to hearing that. All right, and then I'm quite certain if they repeated what they've done before, there's going to be a 2-disc available. You're going to have the remix album, and then you're going to have an additional CD or vinyl of rarities, of sessions. Okay, so there's going to be early takes, there might be some demos, and there's going to be alternate takes, so that'll be interesting. Okay? Then you're going to have the big kahuna, the big box. Now, from my understanding, there was no official mono version of this album done in 1969. So I don't think we're going to get that unless if they decide to create something new this time around. But what you are going to get is you're going to get the remix album, and I'm thinking you're going to get 2 additional CDs or 2 additional records. So I think it's still going to be a very nice set of, Abbey Road sessions. On top of that, there's going to be a nice book with it. It's going to be interesting because looking at the photo of the album, there's going to be different, during that photo shot, I think it took about 10 minutes. You're going to see a lot of unpublished photos, and you're going to see some rare photos of them doing that famous walk. So I'm looking forward also. I'm getting really excited for this, really, folks. I really am. So what are some of the things, the highlights that we can expect on here? Well, let's start off with Come Together. Come Together, Take 1, was already released on Anthology 3. I don't know, they might put it on here again just to combine it, but I know they can find an early take of Come Together, but Take 1 is just sensational. It's got John Lennon, before the overdubs you hear him saying "shoot me," and later in the finished version the bass goes over drowns out the me part, so you hear just "shoot," when he's saying that at different times throughout the song. I mean, just a fine song. They're on fire. Such a great tune, and I know that we'll be hearing something probably, hopefully Take 1 on there, but if not, another version like it. All right, let's go with something. I think it was Take 37. Which George had redone this song several times, and everybody knew that this was just going to be a great song, and it is one of the best songs on the album. Most people would agree with that. But something, went through different versions. There was a remake, and there was another remake, so I'm looking forward to hearing some of these different versions on these session CDs. Now, I think it was Take 37, like I said, that take was about 6 minutes long. What you had is you had the original 3 minutes of it, and then it goes on with this very repetitive piano jam. And I have heard it. It does sound interesting. It's not sensational, but again, it's a work in progress. You just kind of think, well, gee, I'm kind of glad that they took that part off, but I still would like to hear it anyway. So that brought the song up to about 6 minutes. So that's going to be pretty cool. Maxwell Silverhammer. The thing I think about these sessions, which we're going to hear, is we're going to hear the basic tracks. We're going to hear them without all of the overdubs. A lot of times the Beatles would come together as a unit, and then sometimes they would record their overdubs separately. So Maxwell Silverhammer is a good tune, and you'll hear it a little more bare bones. Oh Darling, this is a song that it took Paul a week to perfect in his mind for the vocals. He would say, oh, I could 4 or 5 years ago I could have done it, but now I have to go in there. And he was looking for a particular rawness or a certain edge of his voice. So there's multiple vocal tracks of that. So I'd like to hear that, and maybe him talking to the engineers in between. That would also be pretty cool too. Octopus's Garden. I'm telling you, Ringo's probably a signature tune, that he wrote with the Beatles. My favorite one that he wrote. He wrote 2 songs, that and Don't Pass Me By. Octopus's Garden, this would be the one before the sound effects and all the overdubs. So I'd like to hear that one. That'll, I think, be fine too. Alright, and then I Want You, She's So Heavy. I'm really looking forward to this one. Now, of the finished version, there were 2 different takes that were spliced together. Okay, and there are 2 complete those are 2 complete takes, kind of like Strawberry Fields Forever. There's a, for Strawberry Fields Forever there was a slower version and then a heavier version. So this one has 2 different versions. They do differ slightly. You can listen to the song and it's a little different. Well, I'd like to hear both versions separately, first of all, in their entirety. And I would also like to hear the long version of it. It just goes on maybe another 18 seconds than what was finally cut off. And maybe that might be in the remix. I don't know, that version of it. There's also an experimental take of Paul doing I Want You, She's So Heavy. So that one is pretty interesting too. Alright, here we go with Here Comes the Sun. Here Comes the Sun, a fine George Harrison song. I mean, he was in the top of his game with this album. This one, I had heard that there was unearthed some different solos that he had, not released that were found. So I'd like to maybe hear that. Just want to hear him in the sessions, doing this. And maybe there might be a demo, that we don't know. That's the thing. There could be some demos that might be unearthed that might have been in their private collections that they might come across. Alright, Because, that's another beautiful song, and the thing that would be the showcase here would be the wonderful harmonies that the 3 Beatles, John, Paul, and George, did for this song. I'd like to hear more of that. I know that they did showcase that in Anthology 3, but they might do more of that. They might do some studio chatter also with that. You Never Give Me Your Money. That's a nice one, beautiful. Again, sometimes they would go into rock songs, they would go into a jam. I don't know, I can't remember what I read if they do that at this point. So that would be cool. And the thing, with this, now I'm going to talk about the second half is the great medley, the long one. What that was is basically everything most of what was on side 2, how the songs are together. And in some cases, the songs were recorded together. And that's what I like Sun King and Mean Mr. Mustard were actually recorded together. Mean Mr. Mustard was originally called The Sun King was originally called Here Comes the Sun King. But I think it was probably too close to Here Comes the Sun. But Sun King was great, and just hearing how this song, these basically unfinished songs came together and how they turned out. There is apparently a jam, I think it's Ain't She Sweet, that was recorded during this. Now, I don't know if that's the same version that's on Anthology 3, but I would like to hear that too. So that would be pretty cool. And originally, Her Majesty was between Mean Mr. Mustard and Polythene Pam in an early version of this medley, and Paul just didn't like it. You had an up-tempo song, and then you had Her Majesty, which wasn't, and then you had an up-tempo. So Paul said, I don't like it, take it out, get rid of it. So they didn't throw it away, fortunately. They did spare it, and Paul actually did like it at the end, and they decided to keep it. But what happened was it was cut from that, so you hear some of another song at the beginning, and then the final chord you never hear on Her Majesty on the record, because it then started into the next song. I think it was Me, Mr. Mustard, and then Polythene Pam would be the next. So, you know, it's cuts there. So I would really like to hear Her Majesty. There were 3 takes. I know that there were 2 complete takes. And again, it's only a 21-second song, but I always love it, you know, when, you know, listening to some of these Beatles sessions, like from the White Album, like Mother Nature's Son, how, you know, hear him talking, you know, in the studio, you know, to the control room, to the engineers. And in this case, I think it was, you know, the engineer says, you know, Paul, would you like to, you know, come up and listen to it? And I don't know if there's more studio chatter or not. So that's the other thing I'm looking forward to, just the making of this, hearing how this masterpiece, this wonderful rock album was created. All right, and then you have Polythene Pam, and She Came In Through the Bathroom Window, 2 songs that were separate, that were recorded together. She Came In Through the Bathroom Window, that was recorded, you know, they were working on that during the Get Back sessions. I'd like to hear that. You have Golden Slumbers and Carry That Weight. I believe they were recorded together too. So there's different, you know, you can hear just how those masterpieces came together. Now the end, that's going to be a cool one. The end, there were 7 different takes of that, and that was pretty much an instrumental. And they changed it each time that they did it. Now it's not a long song, so I would like to hear that, but they did the drum a little differently, they did their guitars and the soloing, so I'd love to hear all that back to back. And then of course I talked about Her Majesty being on there. And Her Majesty, there's some footage from Get Back, which is pretty interesting, where he just, you know, keeps going and going with it. So that is my take on what's going to be on there. I want to thank you very much for watching. And the other thing too is maybe they might touch on the Ballad of John and Yoko, which was recorded April of '69 with John and Paul. It was just a fun session. There might be some stuff, Old Brown Shoe, you know, sessions that were recorded during this time. And then Come and Get It, which was a song that Paul says he gave to Badfinger, but he actually had intended at one time to have it on Abbey Road, and there is a take 1 of that was put on Anthology 3. So we will have to see, but I know we're all getting excited for it. So thank you very much for watching my video. You take care. Have a good day. Bye.